Hey folks, welcome to the beginning of our Goblin playthrough. So for those that don't know, a few of my friends have recently got into Blood Bowl, and we've decided to set up a small league just to give them a taste of kind of what it's like. So I decided it'd be a good time to try out the Goblin team, considering they're a bit of a joke team, not very competitive. It's probably the best time I can try to play them. So in this league, we have put in, I think it's 5 AI teams. So as part of this run through, we're going to be playing against obviously the other 4 guys in the league, but also the 5 AI teams. So this video is just a very quick run through of our Goblin team. We've gone for 3 rerolls and no Apo, which means, and I don't plan on getting an Apo in the league at all, which means anytime we have a career-ending injury or a death, that's the player gone. But that's okay, because that's what goblins are supposed to do. So we have 2 trolls, a loony, a fanatic, and a bombardier, and the rest are goblins. So let's go through one by one. We have David and Yannick, who are the trolls, and these guys, the trolls are exactly like the troll in the greenskin team. Always hungry, loner, mighty blow, really stupid, thick skull, and throw teammate. And yeah, they have 4519 stats. So these guys are, funnily enough, while they're the least consistent player in the greenskin roster, they're probably the most consistent player in the goblin roster, simply because they have good strength. So they'll consistently get 2 dice on a lot of things, and 3 dice if I can play it well. And they have Mighty Blow, which is just a very, very good skill. And so the idea with these guys is try and hit as many things as possible, try and level them up, and then put guard on them. Or if they roll doubles, that would be amazing, put block on them. They do also have throw teammate, which is an option since I have so many teammates they can throw. And that's something we'll look to do maybe in the league if the opportunity arises. Okay, so now on to our weapon teams. So first off is the loony, and we have Jaffa here. We got secret weapon, stunty, and chainsaw. Secret weapon means that at the end of a drive, Jaffa will get sent off unless I have a bribe. Stunty is just what all the goblins have. It means that they take extra damage on injury rolls, and they can run through tackle zones without increasing the modifier if the tackle zones are stacked. And it also means they have penalties to throwing the ball, I think, as well. And then we have chainsaw. So the chainsaw is what makes the loony so interesting. So what the chainsaw does is adds a +3 to the roll when it comes to making an armor break, and doesn't need to make any block dice. So the strength of the loony doesn't matter when the loony is attacking. It just needs to, number 1, make a 2+ roll to make sure that the chainsaw doesn't backfire on himself, and I have to do that every time I want to make an attack or block. And then number 2, we just get the +3 to the armor roll. Also can foul, and that puts in, I think, a +3 to the injury roll when fouling. The really, really nice thing about the loony in the goblin team that separates this guy from like the helmet, I think his name, the star player that carries the chainsaw, is Jaffa doesn't come with loner, which means that it's actually quite safe to open with Jaffa, because instead of if rolling a 1, which is a 1 in 6, and then having to make a 50-50 chance to re-roll that like you would with loner, I could just re-roll that 1, and it's very unlikely that I'd roll 2 1s in a row. The playstyle around Jaffa, I think, is, I'm still learning goblins, but I think separates rookie goblin coaches to veteran goblin coaches. Jaffa is very, very susceptible to being blocked, because what the chainsaw does is when he's being blocked, it adds the +3 armor roll to him as well. So Jaffa is very, very easily knocked out or injured or killed when he's being blocked. And what makes it even harder is when you make a blitz with Jaffa, unlike a blitz in all the other players in the game, you cannot move after making the blitz. So you blitz a target, you can move to make the block, but once you've made the block, you can't then use the remainder of your movement points to like run to a more secure position. So a lot of the play style that I'll be trying to do with Jaffa is run up, try and kill something, hurt something badly, and then make sure that he's protected, so he doesn't get counter blocked or counter blitzed. Because I'm playing so many AI teams, and I think our first match is against an AI team, that's not going to be as much of a problem. But against the human players, any decent human coach will see this guy and say, we need to hit him as soon as possible. The level ups, unfortunately, and this is the trials are fine because the trials have strength and there's lots of nice things you can do with strength. But unfortunately for the rest of the team, goblins only have access to agility on a normal roll. And there's not really that much we can do with agility. If Jaffa does level, and keep in mind he does not get any SVP for injuring or killing players because he's using his weapon. It's kind of like fouling a player, doesn't count. So his SVP is either going to be from scoring touchdown or getting an MVP. Or maybe making a pass, which I don't see ever happening. But if we do level him and we get a normal roll, we're going to get dodge, because that keeps, like, you're probably not going to be making too many dodges with him, but it keeps him more safe. Because if an attacker is trying to attack you and rolls a defender stumbles, that kind of secures Jaffa from that. And if we roll doubles, we're going to go general and we're going to get dirty player, and we're going to start fouling with this guy, because that will add a +4 to injury rolls, which is incredibly strong. So that's Jaffa. I think the Looney is probably the strongest player in the Goblin team, with the caveat that all Goblins players have, as long as things go well. Okay, next up we have Aryan. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Maybe you can tell me in Slack. Aryan. Anyway, he's our Fanatic. The Fanatic comes with Secret Weapon, so again, we'll get sent off in the end of a drive. Ball and Chain, No Hands, and Stunty. So we know what Stunty is. No Hands is pretty simple. Player cannot interact with the ball. Ball and Chain. Okay, so the Ball and Chain is, you can see that Aryan has a strength 7. Okay, so what a Ball and Chain does is I can move in up, down, left, or right, but I cannot specify exactly in which square to go in. So if you can imagine the pitch, if I move up, I can move in up, but it's one of the 3 spaces, up. Or if I want to move left, it's one of the 3 spaces to the left. And the computer will tell me, depending on my rolls, which space I go in. If that space contains a player, I will make a block roll. And that doesn't matter if it's an enemy player or if it's my player, I will still make the block roll. If it's my player and I make a block roll and I knock my player down, it's a turnover. If it's an enemy player, then I'd make a normal attack. Excuse me. But what's very scary about that is if Aryan gets knocked down, he's even more susceptible than Jaffa is, because any knockdown on the Fanatic will KO him. KO or injure or just KO. Stunned results are always treated as a KO. So if this player is ever knocked prone, you have to roll for an injury. So all you have to do with this guy is knock him down and he's out. He's gone. But he makes up for that by having strength 7. And if you can move him into the right positions, he can be very, very dangerous. He will also, if he moves into the square of a player who's been knocked prone, he will just make a straight up, I think it's a injury roll straight away into that player. So again, really, really nice if you have a bunch of enemy players in the ground. He'll just get free fouls, basically. Level up goes into strength, which is actually quite nice because you want to put Mighty Blow on this guy. Because although he is strength 7, that doesn't actually help us in terms of hurting players. It just makes our block dice better. So we get in a Mighty Blow and we have a more chance of breaking armor, causing injuries, all that good stuff. He would be the second best player on the team. Maybe the Trolls would... Either the Troll or Fnatic. The Fnatic can be absolutely incredible if he goes in the place that you want him to go. He can be absolutely terrible and just be irrelevant in a game where if he just spins off in a direction you don't want him to spin off in. So finally we have the Bombardier. Bombardier again comes in with Secret Weapon, so you need a bribe for this guy. The nice thing about him is he comes with dodge. So unlike the other 2 weapon team players, he will start with dodge like the rest of his Goblin counterparts. And also stunting. So he's a Bombardier. So what does that mean? Well, it means that I get to use him to throw bombs into a square or a player. The way it works is just like throwing a normal ball. you short pass it, you quick pass it, you long throw it, all with the different modifiers. Unfortunately, not only is Kenty agility 3, so he doesn't throw like an elf, he throws like a normal player, and so he doesn't get a plus modifier to his throw. He also comes with Stunty, and Stunty has a -1 when he throws. So there will be a -1 on any throw excuse me, that Kenty makes, which means that even for the simplest of throws, which is I think a quick pass, it's a 4+. So 50-50 chance of it going to the position you want. Secondly, what makes it quite dangerous, that also means if you either roll a 1 or get a 1 through negative modifiers, you'll drop it at your feet, blow yourself up, and anyone else around you, causing a turnover. So you have to be very careful about that. So how does the bomb throwing work? So you throw the ball. If it's a accurate throw, so you roll the 4+, if you're doing a quick pass, it'll go into the square that you want, and then it will act like a fireball from the wizard, say. So a fireball is it'll knock someone down on a 4+ and then make an injury roll. The other thing that it can do is players can intercept your bombs if you throw them like they would a ball. If your opponent passes the intercept roll, and they will catch the bomb, and they will then be able to throw the bomb back to you or to wherever they want. So particularly dangerous against elf teams because they're only catching on I think it's a natural 4+, with no tackle zones. So yeah, you have to be careful about that. That's the Bombardier. Generally, you use the Bombardier on defense, because he can be incredible at busting cages if things go well, but he is by far the weakest of the weapon teams, and can a lot of the time be irrelevant. But the odd time the stars align and he's brilliant. And then we have the Goblins. So not much really to say about the Goblins. They start with right stuff, which means they can be thrown, dodge, and stunty. Dodge and stunty is really, really nice. Unfortunately, they have agility 3, so the best they're going to get is a 3+ to make through the dodges. But that's still not too bad. These guys are expendable as hell. They cost 40 grand to buy, and they do not really level up into anything interesting. They only get access to agility, and they already have dodge. So you'd probably be looking at diving tackle, sidestep, that sort of thing, but none of it is really that interesting. So these guys are going to die in their droves and get sent off in their droves, and I'm going to use them to soak up blocks that I don't want, say, Jaffa to soak up. These guys are going to die very often, and we're not going to care about it. But that's fine because they're goblins. If we do roll doubles, we're going to get dirty player on them, because then they become actually pretty strong. Okay, so that is the Goblin team. The overall goal in this is, you can see my team value is quite low because I didn't buy a full roster. We haven't bought the Pogoer, and we probably won't because we're saving up for Nuffle's Altar. So I've already spent 100 grand on making my stadium level 2. So I need another 100 grand to buy Nuffle's Altar, and what that means is all my star players cost 50 grand less, and that is really, really nice for the Goblins because that means they can get a Bombardier star player for 10 grand. They can get a Looney star player for I think then 40 grand. And because my team value is so low, we're going to get a ton of inducements against everybody because their team value is at least going to be 1,000. So yeah, that is the Goblin team. We are up against, I think it's Norse first. So I hope you join us then to see what these Gobbos can do. Until then, thanks very much for watching. Bye.